Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance on my other channel. On this channel, I talk about other things, like today when I'll be reviewing the new Nollywood film on Prime Video, With Difficulty Comes Ease. With Difficulty Comes Ease is about a young widow who has to deal with debilitating circumstances while observing a mandatory mourning period in the home of her disapproving mother-in-law, and also while expecting a baby. This very emotional movie is set in Abuja and is written and directed by Korede Azeez and is produced by Nemsia Studios, the makers of Breath of Life. Now guys, this review will contain spoilers, and I'm going to break protocol a bit and tell you up front that I actually really liked this movie. And if you enjoy a good drama, or if you enjoyed that film For Maria Ebumpataki from a couple of years ago, I think you'll enjoy this film With Difficulty Comes Ease. Therefore, you have my permission to stop watching this review here and now, and you can go and watch the movie. And then when you're done watching the movie, you can come back and watch this review, because I believe you'll enjoy the movie more if you watch it before watching this review. Okay? For the rest of you who've seen the movie or who are sticking around either way, let's begin with the performances. Uzoamaka Aniunouh plays Zainab, and she is fantastic in this film. But then again, Uzoamaka is fantastic in pretty much everything that I see her in. In this film, she plays this recent widow who has to deal with her late husband's debtors because he has a few debts here and there, and to add to her issues, she's also expecting a child, and she's in a lot of despair. You know, there's just so much that she has to deal with emotionally, and Uzoamaka delivers this role masterfully. She conveys the emotion of Zainab so well, both with words and with emotions. And to be honest, I'll be very, very happy if Uzoamaka gets a few nominations from her performance in this film. She was that brilliant. And real quick, kudos to Uzoamaka for not letting Nollywood typecast her. Because it's because of, you know, how she looks. She's a very attractive young woman. It would have been very easy for Nollywood to keep on typecasting her and giving her a certain type of role, but she hasn't let that happen. In the different things I've seen her in through the years, she's played different types of characters, and I really appreciate Uzoamaka for making that conscious decision to take diverse roles in her career, and I hope she just keeps on going from strength to strength and getting some really awesome, really diverse roles that really showcase her talent. Moving on to Caleb Richards, who plays Ryan, or Mr. Ryan, as Zainab called her. And he's this benevolent banker slash tech bro who kind of helps Zainab out, and they bond over the fact that they're from a different culture. They find themselves in Abuja, and they're now both Muslims, but that's not how life started for them. I think they were both born in the East. I can't remember what state exactly, it eludes me now, but I think they were born in the East, and they were both born Christian, but they convert to Islam, and they're now in Abuja, and they're really emphatic and enthusiastic about the Islamic faith, right? And they bond over that, and they get closer. The point I'm making is that it felt very smooth. It felt very organic, the way two of them bonded, and the way Ryan helps Zainab out, you know, to get on her feet and to sort her issues out with her late husband's finances, or helping her get access to his funds. And Caleb's performance was really, really good. I've only ever seen him in one other thing, which was Beyond the Veil from a couple of months ago, and I think also last year. Season 1 was last year, Season 2 was a couple of months ago. And on Beyond the Veil, he's this rich kid, but in this movie, he's an average Joe, you know, an average Abuja young man who is just trying to hustle and make his way in life, right? So it was a very different character from his character Kazim from Beyond the Veil, and I liked that. I like seeing him play something very different from what I've known him for these past few months. He did a fantastic job. Another Beyond the Veil alumni in this movie was Umi Baba Ahmed, and she plays Hajia. Incidentally, on Beyond the Veil, Umi Baba Ahmed plays Caleb's character's mom on that series. You guys should check out Beyond the Veil. If you've been watching my reviews for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of that series. If you haven't seen it, go and check it. Check it out. It's also on Prime Video. But coming back to her performance in this movie as Hajia, best performance in the film, in my opinion, because Hajia was a thorn in Zainab's flesh, and Umi Baba Ahmed plays that character of the nasty, disapproving mother-in-law so well. I really hated that character. There are points where I wished she would just kick the bucket. But, you know, you could feel where she was coming from as a traditional, northern mother-in-law who only just wanted her son to marry a traditional Muslim girl or whatever, but he ends up with Zainab's character, and now the son is deceased, and she's stuck with Zainab under the same roof. So it's not fair how she treated Zainab, but you understand the mindset that Hajia had and where she was coming from. And I really liked the dynamic between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, because as much as they were opposite and they were against each other, they were there for each other in this trying time that they found themselves in. And I think Baba Ahmed's performance, like I said, was the best in this thing for me. Honestly, I was a bit pained when I forgot to talk about her performance in Beyond the Veil. So I was really happy that I was going to get a chance to talk about her performance in this movie. With difficulty comes ease, and like I said, my favorite performance in the movie. Moving on to another alumni from, is it alumni or alumnus? Alumni, let's stick with alumni. From Beyond the Veil, Habiba Zok is also in this film, and she plays Maimuna. She's the wife of Zainab's brother-in-law. The couple who moved to Canada, right? And she's not in the movie for that long, but she's good in it. And I was so happy to see her. Habiba is a fantastic person. She's a really good actress, and it was nice to see her play something, slightly different from her character, Suraya, in Beyond the Veil. Habiba, I hope I mentioned Suraya's name correctly this time around. Moving on, finally, to Michelle Dede, who plays, I think, Nene in this movie, the sister of Uzoamaka's character, Zainab, right? As I was watching, I kept on wondering, when is Michelle Dede going to show up in this movie? And it took a while, but she eventually shows up. And I have to say, Michelle Dede's performance in this movie was really good and very different from the typical characters that I've seen Michelle Dede play in the past. Typically, Michelle Dede plays this, very soft, kind of character who is the peacemaker. But in this film, Nene is tough as nails. She keeps on telling Zainab that, look, and just give me the word, I'll buy you a ticket, you'll come back home with me to Jos or whatever, and you'll be good, And she was very hard on her sister Zainab, but in the dialogue that they had, you could tell where they were coming from, and also with the exposition and the conversation, rather, that Zainab has with Ryan later on, where Zainab tells Ryan about her past and what happened with her family, you could understand the rift or the friction between both sisters. But coming back to Michelle Dede, fantastic performance. I really liked the character Nene in this film. What I liked, like I said, I really enjoyed the acting in this film. I also liked the writing. This film was so well written. The sequences and the story itself was so well written, and evidence of good writing kept on popping up in this movie. I also liked the dialogue. The dialogue felt very seamless, intelligent, and organic. The point where Zainab tells Ryan, Ryan says, I'm sorry, the last thing I wanted to do was to be mean to a fellow Muslim. And then Zainab replies, well, that makes me feel sorry for your non-Muslim customers. When I heard that dialogue, I said to myself, I need to find out who wrote this film, because that was brilliant and intelligent writing. That was the kind of writing that engages the brain just the right way. I loved it. So yes, the writing, the acting, like I said, like the dialogue. I liked the production design and the set design. It wasn't over the top. The low-income homes looked like low-income homes. The government parastatals looked like government parastatals. Everything looked the way it should have looked in real life, and I really liked that. It was very true to the story that was being told and true to the characters in the story, right? I liked that this was an underdog story too, and that the storytelling had cultural nuance embedded in it. So it's not just an underdog story where one character beats the odds. It also includes the nuances of that environment that they're in, and the cultural nuances. Like I said, I really liked that. I liked the messaging in the film. At the heart of this film, there's several messages, right? But the one that really stuck out for me was how we can get in our own way sometimes, because we see Ryan trying to push Zainab to enter that competition so that she can win the prize, the fashion or the design competition and everything, but she's adamant. She does not want. It's like she takes one step forward, two steps back. She's not sure about it, and it's kind of because she's holding on to the life that she started with her late husband and everything. And, and I think Ryan even said it in the film that it's because of her late husband that she doesn't want to take that leap of faith and, enter that competition. And what that said to me was, this is how lots of times we get in our own way, and we have to just let go of the past in order to grab hold of the future. So there are just several messages in this movie, and I really appreciated that. There was one more thing I really liked about this film that I'm forgetting. Oh yes, that this movie was bold enough, right, to tell a story about how some people convert from one faith to the other and why they choose to convert. Because that's not something you see very often in our movies, and you don't even see it, and what's more rather is I don't see it as well done or well executed as it was done in this film. Because amidst everything that's going on in the film with Zainab, we understand how herself and Ryan, how they have this deep desire, or why they choose at some point in their lives to convert to Islam, and how they're trying to toe that path, in life, and how it's actually not easy, and how they've been met with resistance from their families, right? And this is, like I said, it's not something that you see very often in our films. So I really liked that this film was bold enough to tell that story as well, in conjunction with all the other things that were going on in this film. Who should see it? See this movie if you like a good drama and if you like a very well written film. Also, if you're patient, right? Because this film doesn't rush, but I think that's part of what makes this film so good. So if you fall into any of those categories, I think you should see this movie. In conclusion, first of all, this was a story-led drama, and it was one of the best, just one of the best dramas from Nollywood I've seen in 2024, but generally one of the best movies I've seen from Nollywood in 2024. I was thoroughly impressed, and I hope that particularly couples who see this movie, whether they're couples about to be married or couples who are already married, I hope that when they see this film, that it starts the conversation between them on how to prepare for the death of a spouse, which is a conversation that lots of people don't have because it's a bit morbid and whatnot. But watching this film, I just couldn't help but think of how Zainab could have been spared of all this trouble and all this stress if her husband had put his affairs in order and done the marriage certificate and all those things, so that she'd be able to have access to his resources upon his demise. And sadly, Zainab's situation is the situation of many widows and widowers around the world, because people just don't have those conversations about what should be done in the event of the unfortunate demise of their spouse, right? So I hope that conversation is started once people see this movie. And I have to say, shout out to the director of this film, Korede Azeez. I did not know who she was until I saw this film, but going forward, because of how impressed I was by this movie, anything that has Korede Azeez's name attached to it, best believe that I will be watching it. She doesn't only direct this film, she also writes the film. She's also the writer of the film, and she, I think, co-executive produced and co-edited this movie. She's all over the place on this film, and I was thoroughly impressed. She has a film that came out on Prime Video a few months ago. It Blooms in June. It was on my radar, but I never saw it. But now that I know she directed it, I am going to watch that film. And like I said, any other thing that has her name on it, I will be watching it. Shout outs to her. Fantastic work. And if you're interested, she has a podcast, because while doing my research on this film, I discovered that she has a podcast called Yoruba Igbo Muslima. So I'm going to dive into that as well when I have time. But once again, fantastic work, Korede Azeez. I really enjoyed this film. Time to rate the film. I rate this movie, with difficulty comes ease, with 4 jollofs over 5. 4 over 5. Guys, if you enjoyed this review, please do me a favor and like it by clicking on the like button just underneath the video, and subscribe to this channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. On this channel, I don't just do Nollywood movie reviews. Sometimes I do other things. To check out some of my past movie reviews, you can click the card in the corner of the screen. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the film. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. I will catch you in the next one. Like and subscribe.